So good morning, everybody. Thank you for joining us today. We're happy to be back with Liz from Young and Healthy. I know she'll give an amazing presentation, just as she always does. Please remember that this session is being recorded. If you do not want to be recorded, please turn off your cameras and your microphones. If you wish to share with the presenter or with the group, please type your questions or comments in the chat box. We are offering Spanish interpretation for those parents or community members that may need them. Remember to also, at the bottom of your screen, click the little globe icon and select English as your language, or Spanish if you prefer Spanish. Now I'm going to say this in Spanish for the... Okay, buenos días, muchas gracias por unirse a nosotros el día de hoy en esta presentación. Estamos de regreso con Liz Arnold de Young and Healthy, que ella es la que nos trae las presentaciones, muy buenas presentaciones, cada vez que nos reunimos con ella. Para informarles, esta sesión está siendo grabada. Si no desea que aparezca su imagen en cámara o su voz en la grabación, por favor apague su cámara y su micrófono. Si quiere compartir con el grupo, ponga sus preguntas o comentarios en la casilla del chat. Para aquellos que necesiten interpretación en español, la presentación se está ofreciendo con interpretación al español. En la parte inferior de su pantalla hay un icono como de un globo, una imagen de un globo. Puede presionar esa imagen y escoger español como su idioma. Para aquellos que están utilizando un Chromebook, no tienen esta opción de la imagen del globo, del icono de globo, sino que lo que pueden hacer es ir a la casilla del chat y ahí está el enlace del canal de YouTube de Collaborate Pasadena, donde se está transmitiendo esta presentación con interpretación al español. Y con eso vamos a comenzar. Liz, we're ready for you. Thank you.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Everybody can hear me, right? Zulema, you can hear me? Just want to make sure. Yes. Okay, good. I got a thumbs up from Zulema. Perfect. Okay, awesome. Thank you. Good morning, everybody. Welcome back to school. I know you guys have already been back for a few weeks now, so hopefully you're getting in the groove. But it's crazy to think that the summer's already past us, isn't it? It's really kind of crazy. I'm so happy that we're going to be able to continue our Thursday mornings together. We got a lot to talk about, and hopefully we can help each other to navigate, right, what's going on, because this is hard. And we have no roadmap. We don't know where we're going. Every day it's a surprise. So as Rosie said, I'm Liz with Young and Healthy. I have been with Young and Healthy for for 8 years now. I just had in July, it was 8 years. And before that, I have worked with kids of all ages. I have had every kind of situation you can probably imagine, infants all the way up to high school students, and love the experience of every age. And then I also have my own 2 kids. I have a 28-year-old son and a 25-year-old daughter. They both just had birthdays recently, so I have to remember how old they are now. And so it's also fun to share my experience that I've had as a mom, not only as an educator and as a professional, but as a mom. So the first thing I'm going to ask you to do is to sign in. Oops, not what I meant to do. Hold on. I'm going to ask you to sign in. On our virtual sign-in sheet, if you click the link that I just put in the chat, and I think even if it's recorded, you'll be able to somehow see it. But put that in click on that. It's a very easy form to fill out. All it's going to do is ask for your name and your email address and the course number, which is 3103. And then you'll be able to see that. First thing I'm going to have, but while you do that, I'm going to tell you for just a little bit about Young and Healthy, which has been a nonprofit in Pasadena for the past 31 years. And of the 3 main things that I'm going to talk about today that we do, the very first one that we've done and continue to do is to provide direct healthcare services to children through all volunteer medical professionals who see our kids in their offices pro bono. So no one gets charged. The kids get free care and nobody gets, not young and healthy, not the parent. Nobody gets a bill. Everything you can imagine, from glasses to teeth, to pediatrics, orthopedics, rheumatology, whatever your child needs, dermatology. We have a specialist on call who we can arrange for you to see them in their office. So that's been pretty cool. The second thing is that once we have figured out how to make sure that everybody is safe, everybody is healthy again, then we work with you to get your own insurance. We work with all kinds of people to help them figure out what's the best healthcare plan for me. And then we help to not only enroll, but to navigate using that healthcare, because that's not always easy. And then the third thing is our prevention programs, basically. We have education and prevention programs around trauma-informed care, which is how we can take care of our emotional and our mental well-being, because that very directly impacts our physical well-being. We have our mindfulness program, which is in almost every elementary school now. This year alone, we plan to be able to have 2,000 kids, over 2,000 kids participate in that program, which is great because they learn ways to manage how their feelings and stress and anxiety and all of those things that come just with being a kid these days. And then we have our parent ed and education programs, which I'm thrilled to be a part of. And that's how I get to be here today, right? This is all paid, it's all paid for through grants, et cetera. So here we are. So let's start with a mindfulness exercise. This is a mindfulness exercise that we use this summer. Perhaps if your children participated in the Ready 21 program that was offered to children this past summer. I love this one because it's a great one for adults and kids alike. It's something that once you've learned how to do it, you can take it home and teach your children how to do it. So we call it Stop and Feel My Breathing. And one of the things that's so cool about this exercise is that you can say these things out loud and do the hand motions and this is extremely helpful for our kids. And it also helps us to involve more of our senses so that it actually helps your brain to have a stronger impact. So the first thing I'm going to ask you to do is just get comfy where you are. We're going to get focused and ready to learn some new things today. Start to notice your breathing, perhaps. Notice where your feet are touching the floor, or maybe your bottom's touching the chair. Just get comfy in your body. Don't judge what you're feeling, just kind of notice it. And then I'm going to ask you to put your hands out like a stop sign and say, I stop. Then you can put your hands on your belly and say, I feel my breathing. Right here, I just want you to notice your breathing. See if you maybe can slow it down a tiny. And then our mantra is peaceful and calm. I am ready to get back to work. And a mantra is something that you tell yourself so that your brain knows what you want it to do and your brain knows what you want it to think, right? I am peaceful and calm. So I'm telling myself how I want to feel. And I'm ready to get back to work. I'm telling myself the next thing I'm going to do. And when you say these things, especially when you can say them out loud, and I know we can't always say them out loud, but when we can, we hear it too, right? We not only hear it inside of ourselves, but we hear it with our ears, which is involving another one of our senses. And we're saying it so we can feel that sensation. And this is one of those things that we can do. And you can insert anything that you want. I am ready to talk to my child. I am ready to have a hard conversation with my sister. Whatever it might be that you need to do next, right? You can tell yourself what you need to do. So this is a really great tool to have in your tool belt, especially while we're navigating these times, right? And so at those moments where we need to get focused. So that's a great way to start. And that's something you can use with your kids, especially. Because really right now, there are still so many unknowns, right? We're doing this whole where, what, right? I know that across the school district, we have kids that are being quarantined. We have kids that are back in school. We have teachers and principals who are just struggling with the emotional after effects of all of what's going on. we're back in school, right? But things are not normal. They're not what we are used to. They're not the same way they were back in, February of 2020 when we were in school. Things are completely different. And things are still changing every day, right? Every morning, there's something new and different. And we're kind of all bracing for what's happening next, right? What's coming next. And it's okay that we feel anxious and uncertain and maybe afraid about all of these things, right? These are things that are things that we make sense that we're afraid of, or that we're uncertain, or maybe we're anxious because we don't know what's coming next. And I think accepting where our feelings is one of the most important things that we can do. Just knowing it's okay that I'm feeling these things, because our brain still hates this. Our brain, we talked about this way back in March and April of 2020, and I can't believe we're still talking about it, but we are. It's the reality. We still hate this. Our brains are still feeling that loss of control, right? Like we don't have control over what's going on and what we're doing sometimes, most of the time. We still don't have that routine, maybe, because it's changing so much. Right? I think many of us had just gotten used to having kids at home, and maybe not completely used to it, but we had almost gotten used to having our kids at home doing virtual learning. We'd almost gotten used to doing things the way we were doing them. And now we're changing again. We're transitioning back into a new normal. And what that's doing, what that does for our brains is it causes us to feel like there's still this sense of I'm not safe. Things are not right. And many of us are still experiencing the same kind of things that we were over the past year. Maybe your sleep is still weird. You're still maybe feeling like you need more, or you can't sleep. Maybe you can't remember stuff still. I know that I'm filling notebook after notebook because I have to write everything down. Things I used to remember, I have to write it down. Maybe you don't feel as productive. You're a little more distracted. Your attention span is not as long as it once was. I'm hearing a lot of people talk about the fact that they just have less patience, right? Their window of tolerance for everything is a lot smaller, right? We just have less patience for a lot of this. And then there's other feelings that are coming up as we kind of get into this, that maybe even more so as we get into this new normal. Maybe you're feeling frustrated or stuck or kind of demoralized. Like, really? I was talking to a friend last night who is having to go back to in-person office. She's going back to her office for the first time next week. And I think she feels a little demoralized, like it's not her decision, right? She's being told she has to, which can kind of make people feel a little bit in despair or angry, or maybe you're just tired of all this. You're weary. Like, I'm just sick of it. I'm just tired of it. I think maybe you're feeling all 6 of those things all at the same time, right? That's possible too. I know there was a mom one day who asked me, wait a minute, our kids can feel more than one emotion at a time. Yeah, we all can, right? We all feel kind of that up and down, that I'm not sure. I'll be okay. No, I'm actually really not feeling okay today. And a lot of this is caused by the fact that our brains are working extra hard during these big adjustments. While we're transitioning, while we're trying to figure out what's going on, we're having this loss of control, lack of routine, and still feeling unsafe that we were, because our brain is working extra hard right now to find safety, figure out a new normal, find control, get into a new routine, right? It's noisy up in here. It's noisy, busy. And we've always had back to school jitters, right? Back to school jitters are normal. I remember going to the school with my 2 kids when they were in elementary school to find out who their teacher was. And there was a nervous excitement around all of the kids, right? This year it probably felt a little different. It's combined with those uncertainties, the pandemic related uncertainties that are going on, kind of contribute to those back to school jitters. So maybe they didn't quite feel as much of happy excitement as they have in the past. And maybe that kind of felt weird, right? Maybe you're kind of like, wait, I'm supposed to feel this is exciting. This is a new school year. I'm happy that we're going back to school. But maybe it didn't feel, maybe there was some underlying, I'm not so sure about what's going on. Because it's really weird to be back in familiar places that are the same, and yet they're different, right? We've been there, well, not exactly there. We've done that, well, not exactly that, but we've never gone back to school in a pandemic, wearing a mask, with plastic shields around our desks, right? And yet we're in a somewhat familiar place. And so what that can do for us is it makes us feel that uncomfortable uncertainty. And some of the things that you might see in your children as they go back into this transition are maybe some clinginess or teariness. Very, very common to see when kids are going through a huge transition like this, or in that uncertain, uncomfortable, to see a regression in their developmental milestones. So maybe your child who was potty trained is now kind of having more accidents, or maybe a child who had given up the thumb sucking is now putting their thumb back in their mouth, right? Because they're regressing in some of their milestones. Kids who were exhibiting more independence are now kind of more clingy. They're kind of afraid to leave. That's kind of normal, right? During these big times of transition. It might not feel normal, but it's kind of expected. Your school age kids might be resisting going to school a little bit. Can't say I can blame them in some ways, right? You might see some oppositional behavior, and you might see an increase in somatic complaints. Your child who says, I have a tummy ache or a headache every day might actually be having a tummy ache or a headache every day, right? They're not necessarily using that as an excuse to get out of having to go to school. We know that the increased stress that happens in our body, that feeling of unsafe, causes our body to produce a hormone called cortisol. And an increased level of cortisol also causes headaches and an increase of stomach acid, which causes tummy aches. So it's very possible that they are having somatic, physical manifestation of their experiences. Okay, so kind of work through that a little bit. And then our high schoolers, our teens might be refusing to go to school. They might be withdrawing, more irritability or moodiness. I know, sorry, parents of teens who are already experiencing moodiness and irritability in your teen, it could be increased right now. And they also might show an increased interest in risky behaviors. Okay, all of these things are pretty what we know to look for during these times of transition. So they're expected. This would be developmentally appropriate for your child who's going through these transitions right now. These are just some things that you might be seeing. And what's happening is that what we're seeing is the behavior, but what we're not seeing is what's causing that behavior, right? Because behavior is communication. Those of you who've been with me before on our calls know that I say this all the time, right? Our kids are trying to tell us something with their behavior. Actually, we all do this occasionally, or most of the time, right? So you have this unexpected behavior, like maybe the regression, or maybe an increased moodiness or withdrawal, right? And so it's important to see what's going on underneath, right? What's causing that behavior? We can reframe it as, well, okay, yes, this behavior is not good. We want to fix this. We want to help our child through it. But what's causing it? Because when we look for what's causing it, we can address the root of the behavior, rather than just try to get rid of it, try to extinguish it, try to make them behave better. We want them to actually feel better. Because what they're doing is they're going to that place where their brain is trying to keep them safe. And when we are in that midbrain where our brain goes, no, things are not right, I got to be hyper vigilant, I have to be protective right now, or that cortisol that I mentioned causes a physical response. It's not a behavioral response. It's not that our kids are trying to get to us. It's literally a physical response that nobody can control. And so you might, this feeling of butterflies or tense muscles, or maybe even a dry mouth, right, is a physical response to our brain saying, things don't feel right. This doesn't feel good. I'm not comfortable here. And when our midbrain takes over like that, it's like our internet connection goes down, right? It's similar to our brain being disconnected from our internal internet connection. I can't get the information that I need. The internet is just down. And when our internet's disconnected, our brain internet is disconnected, we can't learn, we can't listen, and we can't problem solve. Nothing can happen, right? You can't Google if you have no internet connection. You cannot get the information you need if you don't have an internet connection. And this is not something that our kids are trying to do, or that any of us are trying to do intentionally. We can work through it, we can navigate it. We're going to talk about some ways that we can get back online, right? We can get that internet connection reestablished. But it's not necessary, they're not doing it intentionally. None of us are doing it intentionally. What's happening is big feelings take over and they overwhelm us, right? So if we can get past the why, like, why are we feeling this way? Maybe you're feeling unsafe because the question is, am I going to get sick? Or maybe you're feeling unsure because I don't know what the rules are. Like, am I allowed to take my mask off to go get a drink of water? Do I have to leave it on when I'm in my, like, what are the rules? How does this work? Things are different. How am I going to keep my mask on all day? Okay, so the feeling under that is I'm uncomfortable. This doesn't feel good, right? Maybe they're upset, and the question is, why do I have to go to school? And that causes them to feel upset. Or especially for our older kids, how have things changed socially? I feel really like the kids, especially who are worried and feeling uncomfortable socially, are our kids who finished at one school and had to start a new school this year without getting that opportunity to transition, right? They left one school in March of 2020, and now they're in a new school right now. That's hard. That's hard under normal circumstances. And here we are, right? And again, so which causes them not only to feel worried, but disappointed. Like, I didn't get to say goodbye to my friends. I didn't get this normal transition, this regular, the typical transition that I normally get. So when we can say, okay, this is why you're having the feeling, this is what's causing the feeling, and then we can identify the feeling, that's when we can really start to feel better, right? Because I can say, yes, that's what I'm feeling. I'm feeling disappointed. It makes us feel as though we have more control over the feeling, and our brain interprets having control as being safe, right? And so we can help our kids in this way by identifying the feeling. The other thing I want to make sure I tell you is that there is no time limit on any of these feelings or behaviors. They can last for a while. They can go quickly. You may not see these things or may not have seen them in the first few days of school or even the first few weeks of school. And then all of a sudden you can say, okay, what's going on here? These behaviors are starting to crop up, right? These behaviors are starting because there's no time limit. There's no time, there's no expectation on how these feelings might show up for them, right? They could be, okay, I can do this, and then hit kind of a bottom and go, this feels really hard. But if you notice a major change in your child's baseline behavior, right? Not that if your child was always kind of more happy at home alone reading a book, like I always was, that's what then they still like that. That's their baseline, right? You want, if it doesn't turn around after a couple weeks, or if you feel like you're not able to get them talking about it or help them figure some of these things out, then that might be when it's time to consider getting some extra help. And I want to just tell you, there's no shame in asking for extra help. We all sometimes need it. Yeah, we all sometimes need to reach out and say, okay, this is too big for me to handle, help me. And there are different levels of that, right? There are different levels of, maybe you need a trusted friend to talk to, and maybe you need professional help. Maybe you need someone who's a professional who can help you navigate some of the feelings, help you kind of unpack it and figure it out. Because whether we are the ones who are there to able to talk with our kids and help them work through this, or whether we know that this is bigger than we can handle and we need to seek professional help, our job is to be our kids' lighthouse. Here we are. I will help you. Whether that means I can help you personally or help you in another way by directing you to help. Our job is to be that light in the dark for them, right? They know they can come to us. They know that we're going to help them figure it out. That doesn't mean we have to have all the answers. It doesn't mean we ever will have all the answers. It just means that we're going to help them. We're going to be their guiding light. We're going to be the one who's always there, right? No matter what happens out in the sea, I know I can look that way and there's that lighthouse. Because it's that relationship and connection that make the difference, right? We need that relationship and that connection with our kids, with others. We're made to be in connection with one another. The research has led us to know that what we need to do is deal with our kids' social emotional needs before we can get them back into a place where they can be active learners again, right? We're not going to be able to, algebra is not happening unless we're feeling safe. It's just not. Our internet connection's down. We can't get there. So recognizing that we need to really nurture our kids during this transitional time is going to be the most important thing that we can do for them and for us. we need that safety too. We need to feel connected and make sure that we're taking care of ourselves. So I'm going to also say, if you're feeling a little bit overwhelmed as a parent and like this is too big for you to handle and you need to reach out, that's a good thing, right? It's okay. Reach out and ask for some kind of help. All right. The first thing that step one when in creating this environment for our kids, and this whole month of September, we're going to be talking about social emotional needs. But today I wanted to start with how we can just kind of help to create this safe space for our children. And the first thing is to let them talk to you about their concerns and acknowledge their feelings, even if you don't agree with it. There's the hard part, right? Even if we don't agree, even if we secretly think that their concerns are not valid or silly or ridiculous, whatever word you want to put to that, it's really important that we let them have their feelings, because everyone's unique and everybody's experience is different. I bet the five of us who are logged on to Zoom right now, if we could talk about our pandemic experience, you would hear 5 different things. Not everybody has had the same pandemic experience, right? Some of us have had it really, really, really tough. Some of us have had it mildly difficult. Maybe some people are going, yeah, this has been great. I love staying at home. Like I'm really happy here. But so everybody's experiencing this different, and the way that you interpret things that are going on is different. And I'm going to just say that's okay. And our kids too. The other thing that you might notice is that you have 2 kids, 3 kids, multiple kids, and they are all having their own experience. They all are interpreting things differently. And that's okay too, right? So it's our job as parents to let them and recognize that they get to have their own experience. That's hard. I'm not saying that's easy. You're not going to like be perfect at this starting, at 11 o'clock today, but we can start, right? We can try. Step 2 is once they have let you know what their concerns are, we can collaborate with our child, right? So get their ideas, let them help you to figure out a plan. Okay, great. So you're worried about having to wear your mask at school all day. Well, let's figure out a plan. What are some things we can do to make it more comfortable for you? Maybe they need a different mask. Maybe the mask that's comfortable on you isn't comfortable on your child and they need a different mask. Maybe we start there. Maybe it's that simple. But we can, whatever it might be, we can help them to figure out a plan. It's important to remind them that it's okay to start where they are. This is where we're at right now. This is where I am. Use what you have and then do what you can. And sometimes that means we have to make it smaller, make the steps smaller and smaller. Maybe a teeny tiny step is all we can take today. And that's okay. We have to start where we are. And then give them these are some ideas that they can do, some things that they use as tools in the classroom if they are feeling uncomfortable, right? What is your plan? I don't even know how to help you, but let's look it up, right? Let's figure out what we can do. Maybe writing it down, maybe exercising, or maybe you send your child with a picture of their family in their backpack so that if they're having an uncomfortable moment, they can pull their picture of their family out and, feel, okay, this is where I'm safe and grounded, right? This is my lighthouse. Whatever it is that will help your child to feel safe, that's what we need to do for them, right? It's okay, we can figure it out. And then encourage them to ask for help when they need it. Let them know, our teachers want to help our kids. They really do. So if they need help, let them know that it's safe. Also, you might want to take a moment to let your teacher know, this is where my child is struggling right now, right? Send that short email, make that phone call. Let them know my child is struggling. We can't help our kids in the classroom if we don't know that they're struggling. You don't have to give a lot of information. All you have to do is just say, my kid's struggling right now. And then that teacher knows a little extra TLC, really to watch out, to know that this kid's having a little bit of a harder time. And that might be why I'm seeing some of the behavior I'm seeing. So there's that. This step 3 calls us to be better, right? We have to model self-regulation and we have to be present with our child, right? If we are modeling kind of being dysregulated, being upset all the time, exhibiting behaviors that show that we're really worried and scared, that's going to make our child feel more worried and scared. So we need to have self-regulation, and we have to be able to be the adult when they need us. And that co-regulation is the ingredient necessary for creating calm. What is co-regulation? Co-regulation is the ability that we are all born with and that we are still wired with even as we are adults, that when our infants come to us, they kind of pick up on our mood, our how we're managing the world, right? So if we're upset and angry, our children kind of sense that, and then they get a little bit dysregulated. And we never lose that ability to co-regulate. So if you notice that your child is starting to kind of lose it, kind of starting to get a little bit upset or unable to control themselves, one of the things that we can do is very consciously be there for them by regulating ourselves, by calming ourselves, because they will regulate off of that. Does that make sense? All right. The next one is to find moments for self-care. I love self-care. I love to talk about self-care, but I think sometimes people roll their eyes. Like, really, again, we're talking about self-care. We talk about this all the time. What is self-care? Self-care is not necessarily going on a vacation, although who doesn't want to go on a vacation, or getting a massage or doing something big. Self-care can be in the moment and can be a very small something that you do just for yourself. For example, asking for help. That's self-care. Maybe putting some time to yourself, setting boundaries, saying no when you need to say no. No, I can't bake 7 dozen cookies for the bake sale. Like, no, I can't do that. I can bake 2, or maybe this time I can't do it at all, right? Saying no is okay. Taking a step back. And then I think the most important one is forgiving yourself. None of us are perfect. None of us are going to get it right all of the time. Tina Payne Bryson, who is a wonderful author about whole brain child development, says that even the very best parents only get it right about 30% of the time. That was so freeing for me as a mom. I got to tell you, even now with adult kids, I was like, 30%, huh? I guess that means by 15% is pretty darn good, right? That's, that's not bad. If I'm already, if I'm getting closer, we're not going to get it right all the time. We're just not. It's impossible. What matters the most when we don't get it right is that we go back and we repair. That we go to our kids and say, yeah, I'm not really happy about the way I handled that. I'm not really proud of my behavior right now. Can we try that again? Or will you forgive me? Can we start over? Right? It's what you do in the moments of repair that actually build the relationship. And so don't worry about it when you get it wrong. It's just a matter of when you're calm, when you're ready to talk about it, when your child is calm and ready to talk about it, that you go back and make that repair. You go back and say, okay, I blew it. Let's move on. And then do the way that we can teach our kids to have healthy coping activities is to do them together, right? Engage in these healthy coping activities along with our children. There are lots of different ways that we can do this. Watch a movie together. How many of you have like movie quotes that your family just kind of throws around every once in a while? Or maybe it's a song quote or something, right? That's a bonding thing, right? That's something that brings you together. It's an inside joke. Inside jokes are kind of cool because it makes you feel like you belong to something special. And when you have a movie quote or a special song or a special saying, I don't know what it might be, right? A memory that you all share and you only need to say 1 or 2 words and everybody's back there again laughing. That's a self-care moment. That's a feeling of belonging. That's knowing I belong to something really special and unique, right? And so finding those moments, even watching a movie or a TV show or playing a game or sing along or something, right? There's a lot of different ideas in each of the domains up here on the screen right now. So look at that and see what works for you. It's different for everybody. Our family likes to play games. We play a lot of games. I tried to play some games with some family friends, and that didn't go well. That's not their thing. Like, they don't feel comfortable playing games, and that's okay. That doesn't mean we're wrong for playing games or they're wrong for not. It just means we do things differently. So we find other things that we all like to do together, and that's okay. And this is hard. I already said, right? This is probably my favorite graphic. I think I've thrown this in every single presentation because this is really hard and it does feel like you're pushing a rock uphill. And so we have to just go with extra love, right? These are absurd times and we just need to meet them with absurd love, forgiveness, and compassion and empathy. What we say matters. What our kids hear us say matters. What we say to ourselves matters. Like it goes back to that opening activity that we did together. When you say something out loud, you're telling your brain what you want it to do and believe. You kind of set a mood. So if we say negative things, if we say things that are not safety-based, we're setting a mood. We're kind of we're listening to ourselves and we're kind of setting the stage for how the day's going to go. If we say today's going to be a terrible day, what most often happens? You have a terrible day. If you say today's going to be fantastic, you most likely are going to have a better day than if you start out by saying this is going to be terrible, right? So that safety-based language, things are going to be okay. Not only that, when we approach things with optimism, we learn and we teach our kids that challenges and obstacles are temporary and you're able to overcome them. And when you think about things that way, you're more likely to succeed, right? I can handle this. Yeah, some of the things that we've had to deal with are really pretty awful. But we can still overcome, we can still get better. And when you are pessimistic, when you see things as permanent and that it's impossible to deal with, you're more likely to just quit and walk away and not try. So we want to build that optimism. We can talk about it with our kids, talk about things, right? About everything. We try to talk about everything in our family. It's not always successful. And then sometimes our kids go, wait, we've never talked about that. I'm like, oh, we did until we were all like kind of tired of it, but let's go, all right? Let's talk about it if that's what you want to talk about. Burying feelings, not talking about things really just causes further turmoil, internal turmoil. It makes you feel bad. It makes you feel unresolved. And then when you talk about things, we actually get the chance to move information out of our emotional brain, right? So we've got these feelings around whatever it is that we haven't talked about. When we talk about it, we are using our thinking learning brain, which means our thinking learning brain is kind of taking that information out of our emotional brain and going, oh, okay, now we can put this away as fact rather than feeling, right? Doesn't mean the feelings go away, but it definitely makes it easier to deal with. So talk about things. I know a lot of people, my mother-in-law in particular, who will often say, oh, just don't think about that anymore. Well, that doesn't work for me. Maybe for some people it does, but for me, that doesn't work. Just don't think about it. You got to talk it through. If your kids, especially if your kids want to. And then check in and ask how you're feeling, right? Address those feelings before maybe you have behaviors that come around them, right? So if we get up and say, I'm feeling anxious today, and you can say, oh, okay, how can we help you feel better before you go to school? So that you don't send an anxious kid to school who can't learn, right? How do we help you with that? There's a lot of different ways that you can do this morning check-in. I like these visuals. I like this one because I feel this way because this is what, maybe we can figure out why I'm feeling this way, and then we can address that. We come up with that action plan. We can go to that step 1 that we talked about a few minutes ago, right? And the other thing that I would add to this is, what do I need? I'm feeling kind of meh. I feel this way because I'm kind of worried about going to school. So what can we do to address that, right? So we can add that. Remember that all of these feelings are normal. It's all okay, right? Where every feeling that we have is normal. It's what we do with our feelings that matters. When our kids get home, after the day, after the week, whenever it is, maybe you need to do this at the end of a day, do a debrief. How did that go? Did that work? I know we got you a new mask because that other old mask was uncomfortable. Did that work? What can we do? Nope, that one didn't work either. What didn't work? What can we try? What do we need to look at? Just talk about what happened and then adjust and make the changes. If we need to switch it up a little, let's switch it up a little. Okay to have to switch it up a little. Your teachers are switching it up every day that when they notice things aren't working, right? Things are being moved around when they don't work. On the flip side of that is if something's really working, don't try to change it, especially right now. We can't handle more change. Something's working, stick with it, right? Make that stick. And then a little bit of empathy goes a long way. Empathy is the ability to make someone else feel like like they're felt, like you get it, right? It's extremely powerful when we can say to somebody, I get it. I get you. I totally understand where you're coming from. I can absolutely see why you feel this way. It's disarming, which means you kind of relax. You don't feel like you have to fight, right? Your brain doesn't go into that fight mode. When somebody says, I completely see why you get it that way. Don't you think about it? You automatically kind of relax, don't you? You can almost feel your shoulders going down a little bit, right? Your breathing slows down because, okay, I don't have to fight. They get it. They understand. I don't have to keep working at this. And then it gives us the opportunity to connect as well, right? That makes you feel like, okay, like this person gets me. I feel more connected. I feel safer. So I can keep talking. I can come back, right? That lighthouse, it's working. So that empathy is super, super important. Next, what I've got for you is an exercise, another mindfulness exercise. I think I've got 2 or 3 built in here now. We're doing okay on time. I like this dissolve a thought exercise because I have a tendency to get caught on something, and I need to change my narrative. Like I get a thought caught my hamster wheel and I can't let go of it. And sometimes I need to because it's not serving me well. And so this dissolve a thought exercise is a good way to do that. So one more time, get comfy, get ready to do this exercise together. Talk you through it. We don't spend a lot of time on these exercises during these hours that we're together. These are mostly just an opportunity for you to give it a try and then to take it home and add it to your repertoire, maybe of ways that your tool belt, ways that you can help yourself calm or help your children, teach your children these exercises to calm. So we don't spend a ton of time on them. Normally, I would rather spend more time if we were going to just focus on these. So breathe in, take a deep breath in deeply through your nose. And then I want you to blow that out hard through your mouth. And then imagine that all of your thoughts that you have are clouds that are floating above your head. Throw some happy ones up there too. Throw some sad, some frustrating ones. Throw some of the ones that make you feel angry. Throw them all up there. And now as you take your next deep breath in, I want you to grab one of those clouds. Grab the cloud you want to get rid of. And breathe it in. And then as you breathe out through your mouth, as you exhale through your mouth, I want you to imagine that thought just going far, far away. You're breathing it way far away. You're blowing it far, far away. Let's do that one more time. Breathe that thought in that you want to get rid of. And now exhale through your mouth and blow it as far away as you can. You may have to do this a few times, right, to get that thought out of your head. You may have to remind your child to do this a few times. The other really important thing about any of these exercises is that you practice them when you are not needing them as much, right? So in the times when you're calmer, I know it sounds kind of like, God, why do I want to bring this up? Because when we practice these exercises in the moments when we are calm, when the moments when we're feeling comfortable, when we're needing them, when we are feeling uncomfortable or not calm, our brain knows what to do a little bit better, right? So we've already taught our brain, here's what I want you to do, so that you don't have to use as much thinking. You're using those already formed neural pathways. So a grounding exercise is an exercise that helps you to kind of push all of those outside worries away and focus on the here and now. The definition of anxiety is worrying about things that are happening either in the future or have happened in the past, things that you cannot control, right? So when we are feeling anxious or stressed or like we can't concentrate, doing an exercise like a grounding exercise, like the one we're going to do now, helps you to be more in the here and now. I can get back into focus. So just from where you're sitting, I want you to notice 5 things that are around you. And Rosie and Rosa are getting good at this one. They've done this one a lot with me. Just 5 things. 4 things that you can touch. What are 4 things in the room where you are that if you walked over and touched them, you could tell what you'll know what their texture is. What 3 things can you hear right now? Notice 3 things that you can hear right from where you are. Two things that you can smell. Maybe your coffee, maybe your hair, your shampoo smells really good. I don't know. And then the last one is something that you can taste. And that can be cold water. That can be icy cold water. Icy cold water actually speaks to your amygdala and says, whoa, we're in the here and now. We got to be here, right? Also, again, I say this a lot, but I think it makes a lot of sense. When we are learning something new, we need twice as much water as we do in other times. And we're all learning new things all the time right now. So make sure that you're drinking a lot of water. Stay hydrated. And that's an example then of a grounding exercise. There are so many apps and that you can use to get other exercises, to lead you through exercises. Calm is one. Breath work is another. Headspace is actually now on Netflix. So you can binge watch Netflix and Headspace, on Headspace, or Headspace on Netflix. They're great apps. They have really done a lot of work over the last year. All of these apps have gotten way more, there's a lot more variety. There's a lot of celebrity voices. Matthew McConaughey does one on Headspace. He's got such a great voice, right? You can hear him. And then there's other, I heard about one the other day called Breathe with 2 E's, BREETH. Might be breath, might be breathe, but it's a new one. So there's a lot that you can try. There's also, I like cards. I like flashcard kind of things. These are 3 examples of a box with mindfulness activities on a card. So it's not like you have to look through a book, which could feel overwhelming, but you can just go and say, I need one to calm down. And so pull out a card. I need one to get my energy going, pull out a card. And the Little Renegades ones are made specifically for kids. And the artwork is gorgeous. It's beautiful. So I highly recommend. And then there are plenty of books. If you like books, if that's your comfort level, Breathe Like a Bear is my favorite. There are 30 activities in there, mindfulness activities that can help kids with whatever they are needing. That they can use their breath and their own energy to control their moods. If you have a kid who has a hard time getting up to go to school in the morning and you need to help create some morning energy, there are exercises, breathing exercises for that. So there are lots of different ways that you can use these resources. The Good Morning, I Love You is a more of an adult book, but it also has like a little bit of a place for journaling, a little bit of a place for self-compassion and mindfulness exercises. So it's a great one. And then Breathing Makes It Better talks about why breathing works. So if you want to make, if your kids are going, I don't understand why you want me to do this, Mom, Dad, I don't get it. You can read the book, and that's a great resource for that. You're going to get it. Hopefully you've signed in. I'm going to put the link to the sign in sheet one more time in the chat. You're going to get an evaluation in your email. Please complete it. But mostly what I want to leave with you with is that you take care of yourselves. This is hard. These are hard times. These are really hard times. And we need to just take a step back, readjust, and kind of get comfortable, right? Do what you can to get comfortable and take care of yourself. Okay, questions? I don't know if anybody has any questions. If you do, and you are not here right now, and you are listening to this on a recording, please feel free to email me any of your questions. I am more than happy to get your emails and answer your questions and be a resource for you during these difficult times. Okay, Rosie, I'm going to turn it back over to you.
Thank you so much, Liz. There's things that you share that I've heard before, but I definitely always learn so much with things that you share with us. And I know I need to put into practice all the techniques that you give us and the resources, and they're great. Thank you so much, Liz.
You are so welcome.
I agree, Liz. I'm experiencing pain in my dental issues, and the breathing exercise we just did, picturing my pain going away, it relieved it. Like I don't feel it as much. It did calm me down.
That's great. That's,
Yes.
yay. Excellent.
Yes.
Excellent. Love it. Keep using it. You know, I will tell you guys both, I don't use these. I don't as much as I should either, right?
Yeah.
There are times I'm like, oh, I need to breathe. Why am I not thinking about that? We all get there. It's a process. It is.
We forget. I mean,
Yeah.
You started with the presentation of how, our sleep pattern is just different, and I can't focus. It is true. I can't focus, and at the same time, I have a million thoughts going through my mind, and I can't find the words, and I forget a lot of things. So it's kind of overwhelming right now. Yeah.
It is pretty overwhelming. It is.
Yes.
And it's okay to say that too, right? I love that we're able to just share that with one another. Yeah, this is hard. And I don't like it.